What's up, guys? Welcome to the Fomo Factory. Let's take a look at Bitcoin and discuss what's being discussed most right now. Can we have an early cycle end? I see a lot of people talk about it like, yeah, Bitcoin is going to top out in 2024, beginning 2025, and it's all going to be different this time. And it may be, but it also may be not. So let's take a look if that's actually the case. So if you feel like I'm going to like the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the bell notification on so you don't miss out on anything. Check out the Patreon down below. A lot of interesting private sales coming to the Discord. So definitely be there because, hey, even if we're going to top out soon, it doesn't matter. Pre-sales, still the way to make the most money in crypto. I think this channel has proven that a while back already. So, at the moment of recording, I want to express that very clearly. Bitcoin is sitting at around 70K. And why do I say that? Because it, tends to move pretty fast. For the last year, basically, Bitcoin has been nothing but up only. There was some sideways movement here and there. But overall, we have seen big green candles and we have not seen a single significant red candle yet. So before I'm gonna talk about, the whole subject, don't get scared if you see one day Bitcoin having a normal correction, right? And what do I mean by a normal correction? A correction back to maybe lower 50s, 25%, something like that. Again, it's not me sitting here predicting that that's going to happen, but I want to make it very clear that in this bull market, we have seen multiple 40% corrections. In this bull market, we have seen multiple 30% corrections. In this bull market so far, we have seen multiple 20% corrections. But, doing a correction once or maybe twice, slightly more than that, hey, it's definitely not off the table. So keep in mind that if that happens, you want to buy the fear because there will be a lot of fear in the market. But therefore, you have to make sure that you are not the one that has that fear. So you have to have a long-term vision for Bitcoin if you don't want to get washed out in the meantime. And therefore, you want to have a understanding of how the cycle moves so you can have a goal, have a mindset like, okay, this is where my top out, this is my goal. So whatever happens in the meantime, if it goes up, I'm getting closer to my goal. If it goes down, nice, I can buy it even lower, so I have more percentages to go before I'm gonna hit that goal. 70K, perfect, by the way. Oh, my OTC, OCD, what is it? Beautiful. But let's take a look at the cycle and why people say like, hey, we might top out earlier and what my opinion is about that. So if we do look at the Bitcoin cycles so far, it has been 100% intact. Every cycle is the same. And then again, every cycle is different. What do I mean? Well, if we look at the bigger picture, it's all the same, right? Bitcoin topped end 2013, topped end 2017, and it topped end of 2021. 4 years, 4 years, 4 years. It bottomed end of 2014, end of 2018, end of 2022. 4 years, 4 years, 4 years. What happens in between these 4 years, so what happens in this period, that's always a little different, right? What was always very similar as well, by the way, well, in two cycles, after Bitcoin went to the bottom, it went all the way up to the 0.618, got rejected right there, got a fat rejection, and then went up. This cycle, we saw the same. We had the bottom, we went all the way to the 0.618, got a fat rejection. Now, in this cycle, we went all the way down, all the way up to the 0.618. We got a rejection right there, and now we went up. Not the fat rejection that we got before. Here it was a 70% correction, mainly thanks to COVID, so thank you. Without COVID, it was like a 50% correction. And in this cycle right here, it was a correction of around 40%. This time, we have seen the same type of correction, right? But the correction in this case was 22, whoa, let me do that again, 22%. So therefore, I'm saying like, hey, all the cycles are the same. right? We're topping out at a certain point. 4 years later, we top out. 4 years later, we top out. And the bottoms, exactly the same. We even get rejections at the same period. However, do we get a rejection of 20%, 30%, 40, 50%? That's always different. So how much it moves is different. But overall, the cycle plays out exactly the same. And that makes me stick on to the 4-year cycle very much, because this all the history we have so far. This history is 100% intact, and then it would be very unwise for me to sit there and say like, well, you know what, this time it's going to be different. Okay, maybe, but let me first see that it's going to be different, right? So far it's not. There are some things that are different, but that doesn't mean that the whole cycle is going to be different. Like I said, this correction was smaller, was already a reason for people to be like, oh, the 4-year cycle is broken. Yeah, okay, but this here was bigger than this right here, right? And people could have also said there, oh yeah, it's broken. No, it wasn't broken. You could have nailed the top like very easy, actually, if you just sticked on to the 4-year cycle. Now, also a little thing that's a little bit different in this case, and the main reason for a lot of people to say that we're going to top out sooner this time, which might be true, by the way, but we don't know. But that's this. Bitcoin, let me go to this cycle first. Bitcoin had its halving, and from the halving, it took us around 44 weeks to make a new all-time high. Right, well, at least to break through and really, go on with newer standards. In this cycle, we had the halving, and it took Bitcoin around 33, 34 weeks to make a new all-time high. In this cycle right now, Bitcoin already made a new high before the halving. Right, and therefore people say like, okay, where the cycle has been moved to the left, right? We're going faster right now. That's a theory that you can hold on to, but I would be careful putting my money there, because that's just one really, really, really little thing in the middle of that 4-year cycle that is intact, which is showing some differences right here. Because one, yeah, Bitcoin made a new all-time high technically, but, did we really break above it? No. What could still happen is something like this. Right? Not that exact timeline, but, it could happen that we just get a rejection, that we go sideways, that it's going to be boring, that we hover around here for a while. It's not a clear confirmation of a real breakout at this point yet. Right, and that might be give or take the same kind of thing that we have seen over here, where Bitcoin in the last cycle went from the bottom to the top with 340%, and from that point we started to do some boring stuff, because Bitcoin right now, from the bottom until where we are right now, sitting at the exact 340%, basically 350. So the time that it happens, it's always a little different, right? Like I said, it tops out there, so far at least, right? It tops out there, it bottoms there. That's written on the wall. That's like what makes the cycle intact. And like I said, what happens in the middle of it, yeah, things could pump a little harder, dump a little harder, move a little sooner, move a little later. But that's always different, actually. So it could definitely be that we do a little boring stuff and then really break. Now, also, you have to realize, my theory, right, is this. Bitcoin goes into a bear market at a certain point, not purely because of Bitcoin. Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, if you, for example, look at the S&P or the NASDAQ, right? Look at the NASDAQ. Last bear market, when did that happen? November 2021, right? The stock market went down, the NASDAQ in this case, with 37%. For degens like us, it's like a Tuesday, right? That's like, 37%. Well, tomorrow it's up 500% again, so I don't care. For the NASDAQ, that's a big, fat bear market, right? The Federal Reserve, the rating, or the rates, the overall health of the economy, that decides if there is a bear market or not, the money printing, etc. And that makes, like, for example, the Nasdaq or the S&P in that case also go down quite hard. And Bitcoin does exactly the same. So it is not that Bitcoin goes into a bear market because just Bitcoin or crypto goes into a bear market. It's because the overall world economy is going into a bear market and Bitcoin is following that. Okay, I think we can all agree on that. That's how bear markets work, right? So if you say like, hey, we're going to top out sooner, then it's not because Bitcoin is going to top out sooner. Then you would say like, yeah, the overall economy in the world, there's something wrong with that. And therefore, we're going earlier in the bear market. But that has nothing to do with the fact that we now pumped already. Because what's so cool about this, we pumped, people say that the narrative is the ETF, right? And, you know, that's not the case. Let me say that. I mean, it's 2023, 2024. So we can compare that to 2019, 2020. Well, what happened in 2019 and 2020? 2019, 2020, in the last cycle, right? Or at least there was only one 2000. We pumped 10x, right? That's just what happens in a pre-election year and in the halving year, the election year. The markets pump, right? So even without the ETF, we would have pumped, right? Let me be very clear about this. The ETF did not cause the pump, okay? We were pumping already. Nobody, like here, this part, nobody was talking about ETF. The only difference is that the ETF did make sure that the pump was a little bit harder than it otherwise would have been probably, right? Because a lot of money is flowing into the crypto markets right now. That's just what happens, right? But without the ETF, hey, we might have well still been somewhere around 50 now, right? Instead of 70. That's still quite a lot comparing to the 15K that we came from. So Bitcoin pumps because of Bitcoin, okay? Because of the Bitcoin ETF. That was a real Bitcoin narrative, a real Bitcoin thing, okay? Now, it's not that like the world economy gives a fuck about Bitcoin. So it's not that everything, whether it's a recession or whatever, that's going to happen earlier because of Bitcoin. So in my opinion, yes, we pumped earlier, but on the way down, it's usually because Bitcoin follows the world economy. And that's my theory on why we are probably not seeing a early downtrend in this cycle. We have not seen an early uptrend in this cycle as well, right? Because like I said, from beginning 2023, we have been going up. It's the same as going up from beginning 2019, like we did over here, or beginning 2015, like we did over here, right? But the thing is, this bump from here from 50 to 70, give or take, that makes people think like, yeah, you know, it's completely different. We made a new all-time high. It's going to end earlier, right? It's just like the cycle moves still the same, only it's going up a little bit faster than it usually does because of the ETFs, right? That has nothing to do with the cycle not being intact, in my opinion. Now, of course, it is really hard to predict, right? I don't know. You know, all I'm saying, very confident right now, maybe in 2 years you can come into this channel and be like, dude, you were so fucking wrong. And there's a high chance I am. But of all the YouTube channels, they have a slightly like the same chance that of being wrong because we're all humans and we don't know what's going to happen in the market. We have no fucking idea. The only thing that really helps us again is, well, especially this 4-year cycle. And especially this 4-year cycle is really helping us. And people are so fixated on the halving and be like, yeah, we made a new high before the halving. How is it possible? Yeah, like ETF money, it pumped a little higher than what it otherwise would have done. But still, we followed the same structure as we usually do. Also, retail isn't here yet. You can say whatever you want, but the people that are here are the people that were already in crypto and the institutions. And maybe, you know, some new people, but most of them are yet to come. And that's what you see in this chart right here. These are the social metrics. The red line, that's the people watching YouTube videos, subscribing to YouTube channels, following analysts on Twitter, etc. And what I already noticed with my channel, like, hey, I'm getting new subs, but not more than I did like a year ago. It's like pretty steady still. And you can pretty clearly see that here right now. What's interesting to me is it looks like we are here, right? If you look at the social metrics, we are now sitting at the same point. So some new people are getting into crypto, but it's not that spectacular. It's like the same at around of the bottom. But also, if you compare that to this part right here, you can see that price-wise, we are also sitting at the same point, right? We're sitting at the previous cycle top. And what you notice is that the retail really gets into crypto once we break the all-time high, like we did over here. We broke the all-time high, and all of a sudden, all that retail is stepping in. Now, we are yet to really, like I said, break the all-time high. And that would be the point where the retail really steps in. Could it be super similar like this, where we go up and have one last small dip right here and then boom, go up like we are doing right now? Up, last dip, boom, go up? I don't know. That's a little too specific, but it is clearly showing that, retail is yet about to come, and that drives the price up like crazy, and that retail won't go away after a month or two. That usually takes a very long time, because these are the people that really bring in the cash in crypto, like, not because retail is so rich, but it's such a big part of people. And by looking at price, you can also get a clear indication that we still have quite some time, right? Because this is the Bitcoin fair value. And if you look at the fair value of Bitcoin, every single bull market, no exception, we go pretty hard above the fair value, as you can see here in 2011, 2014, 13, 2018, 17, sorry, and 2021. We are now just getting at the fair value, but not even above it. If we would have break above it today, then it would be sitting at slightly over 100K, right? And that would be just the fair value itself, not even really above it. So let's say like 110K. But are we really pumping to 110K between now and very shortly? I don't know. And that's not even set far above it, right? If you look at this, the last bull market, for example, we had the fair value sitting at 20K, 28, and the actual price went more than twice as high. If you look at this bull market right here, the fair value, the upper band at least, right, sitting at 4, 5K, and Bitcoin went to 20K, right? Here also far above it. And this is a little diminishing. Definitely it's a little diminishing, but still it takes a long time for us to get there. So let's say it's 150 or something like that. I don't know, maybe 200-300. That could definitely happen, right? Yeah, we won't get there overnight. So we have a long way to go, especially once that 100K barrier is broken. And also, if you look at the altcoin market, last time when we broke the all-time high, that was over here, we had around 42 weeks of bullishness to go. So almost a year, right? Now, we're not even at the all-time high right now. So let's say we break that in July is my expectation, maybe end of the year, somewhere like that. We have 40 weeks to go, give or take. That takes us to, let's say, May 2025, but that depends really on when we break the all-time high. But we are now at the golden zone and the Fibonacci, which is similar to where we were over here. From that point, it took us around 48 weeks. So from this point, if we take 48 weeks, then it's still a lot faster, but then we're just slightly comparing it to the last cycle. Will take us to the end of February 2025, right? So to say that, we will top out end of 2024. Yeah, I don't know, man. In my opinion, the real fun is about to begin by then. And that could be very dangerous for a lot of people if they think we're going to top out at the end of 2024 and they might sell everything and then everything goes up. All these people, they be like, oh, fuck, let's buy back. And they buy the top and they get wrecked. You know how it works, right? So the conclusion is actually, we do not know. It is certainly possible that we move a little faster. I don't see enough evidence though, at least not yet, right? And maybe the people that say this will be right, but you know, it's more of a matter of not betting against the odds. And if you are saying that we move faster this time, you're betting against a lot of odds, a lot of odds. And like I said, for these people, the only like real argument that they have is like, yeah, Bitcoin made a new all-time high before the halving. Yeah, again, what happens between in the 4-year cycle that can move harder, slower, whatever. But the 4-year cycle is still very much intact. So if you feel like, man, you know, if I would say whatever, if you feel like end of 2025 it's gonna top out, or if you say end of 2024 it's gonna top out, or if you're in the camp of, hey, I don't know, I would say DCA is the way, right? DCA in, DCA out. That's the best thing to do. What I'm doing right now is not much. Bitcoin is sitting at the all-time high. I either expect, yeah, I expect all scenarios at this point. It would not surprise me if we blast through it. It will also not surprise me if we get a good correction first. But it will also not surprise me if we just don't do shit for the coming months. So therefore, I feel like, okay, taking profits right now, meh. But buying right now, meh. Doing nothing seems best in a time when things are a little bit uncertain. If we, what's for me a good indicator at the moment at least, is if we really break above the all-time high, go to like mid 70 or something like that, retest the previous all-time high and go up from there. That's an indication for me like, okay, we're about to go up. And maybe it will happen in a straight line. In that case, better to buy a way up than to, you know, buy the way down, in my opinion. So that's how I look at it. Let me know in the comments what's your opinion and why do you think that. Sometimes people say this is gonna happen, but I want to hear arguments, man. I want to hear arguments of why it is going to happen. For now, if you look at the S&P right now, you know, making new highs, looking pretty bullish to me. Right? Looking pretty bullish to me. And that's the beginning of 2024. If you look at the beginning of 2020, if you not include the COVID week, right, then we might have gotten something like this, right? So overall, meh, pretty like, and it was like in a raging bull then, and it was really making big new highs. Of course, there's always certainty or the uncertainty that a recession might pop up or something like that. But in my opinion, that's a goodbye the dip event, actually. Have a long-term mindset, a bullish mindset about crypto in a bull market. And don't use one single movement to be like, okay, this is completely going to change over the coming 4 years. You will find yourself getting wrecked. I'm in crypto since 2013. And all that got me wrecked, the only thing that got me wrecked was doing exactly something else than the 4-year cycle suggested. Exactly the opposite has gotten me wrecked. Every time I thought, okay, but now it's going to be different. Now I'm emotional. I got wrecked. If I were just felt like, okay, this is the top, this is the bottom, this is the top, this is the bottom, it's so predictable, right? Then you can really turn off your emotions, and so far so good. This probably will change one day. It cannot stay that predictable, but you must also realize most people don't know about this. Most people are not in crypto yet. The people that are in crypto, most haven't heard about this. The one that heard about this don't always apply it, and the ones that apply it don't always apply it right. So there's just a very small amount of people that actually trade the 4-year cycles, right? So it's too little to say like, yeah, everybody knows about it, so it's not going to work right now. It is working like this. Use it in your benefit. Now it still can. That's it for today, guys. I want to wrap it up right here. If you want to drop your opinion in the comments, I would really appreciate that. Like the video, would appreciate that a lot as well. Turn the bell notification on, subscribe. Check out the Patreon. See you soon.